Today on Time About the Movies, we've got Valentine's Day starring everybody. Cream up a caper, anyone? But yeah, there's a ton of people on Valentine's Day. But also we have the Wolfman, which may or may not be better than the god-awful reboot that we just had by Blumhouse. Spoiler alert, it's better than the Blumhouse reboot. Does that make it a good movie? We're going to find out a little bit. But we'll also have Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Chris Columbus, of course, brought Harry Potter to the big screen. Now he does the same thing with Percy Jackson. Does he succeed? We're going to find out in just a little bit. February 12th, 2010. Time About the Movies, coming up next.
Peter, are you ready for your Valentine's gift?
No, but I'm ready for therapy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. That was Family Guy's parody of Valentine's Day. And, you would look at this and you'd probably think to yourself, there's no way that Family Guy could get it right on the nose. Well, prepare to be not surprised.
Stewardess seems to like you. She looks over you every 5 seconds. Here you go. 5, 4. Maybe a bag of pretzels. I got it. Amazing. Oh my god. Well, I used to be a gymnast. Did I hurt you? It's not like I'm gonna sleep with one person for the rest of my life, right? I mean, who does that?
Crazy people like us.
Checking in for 2? I mean, 1 and a dog. Oh, great. Happy Valentine's Day. Me too. Oh.
Let's kick it. Oh. Turn that shit now. Let's live it up. I got my money.
Love is the only shocking act left on the planet.
Go out and smash.
Can't eat Grandpa.
What's the matter? Are you sick?
Love sick. You're gonna miss a good time tonight.
Valentine's Day is about love. It's about romance. It's about... Valentine's Day.
It's my fault that I'm alone on Valentine's Day. My closest relationship is with my BlackBerry.
Right.
Thank God it vibrates.
Yeah, Family Guy pretty much knocked it out of the park. This is literally what this movie is like. By the way, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It's February 12th, 2010, and we are starting off with, of course, Valentine's Day. And as that trailer shows, you get pretty much what you expect to see from here. So like He's Just Not That Into You, which came out a year before, and not directed by Gary Marshall, this movie is centered around various people, all of which are big named actors, and there's a lot of them in here. You see it in the trailer: Ashton Kutcher, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, Anne Hathaway, Jamie Foxx, Topher Grace, Patrick Dempsey, Jennifer Garner, Julia Roberts, and a lot of other ones that are not included in there, like Bradley Cooper, Eric Dane, Emma Roberts. You see Shirley MacLaine there, Hector Elizondo, Kathy Bates is in here, Taylor Swift, Taylor Lautner. Remember when the two Taylors were together? Let me tell you something, considering what's been going on with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift as of now, I kind of want to go back to those days of that day when the two Taylors were dating and everyone thought that was the cutest thing ever, because it's more tolerable than what's going on with them now. But Queen Latifah is also in here too, on the biggest day for couples, Valentine's Day. And yeah, this is a movie that is literally the definition of a date night movie. I went to go see this on the Sunday after it came out, which coincidentally was Valentine's Day, and yes, the theater was packed with couples. I went up by myself. And to be perfectly honest, I probably should have went with somebody, but I wasn't thinking that this was going to be the massive hit that it was. But it's very funny with this movie, because the first 2 days when it came out, if you look at the box office numbers, it did respectable business overall. But then on Sunday, which is usually the lowest day for a new release in particular, nobody really goes to the movie theaters on Sundays less than they do on Saturday and on Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday usually are the big days. Valentine's Day on that Sunday made like made like 50% more on Saturday, which is very, very rare to do. In fact, let me get the numbers here. Okay, 50% was maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but it did do the best of the 3 days. It was up 27% from Saturday, which Saturday was 18.3 million, and then Sunday was 23.3 million, which made sense. I mean, it makes sense because it is Valentine's Day, but it's a very rare thing for a movie like that to do good business on Friday and then just do really incredibly well on Sunday. That's like a rare thing to do. And as far as the movie itself goes, it's just I mean, I thought back then it was just okay, and then when I watched it again recently to get ready for this, my thoughts really haven't changed on it. It's just an okay movie. It was trashed by critics when it came out, but it was a massive hit regardless. It made back its budget the first weekend alone, which prompted them to make another movie that came out the following December with New Year's Eve, which that's a much worse movie than this is. This is just passable. Passable is probably the best word to describe it. There are some good elements to it. I thought the two strongest characters in the movie in particular were Ashton Kutcher and Jamie Foxx. Foxx I thought was the best overall in the movie, and I went to this to see if Taylor Lautner and Taylor Swift could act overall, and that was one of the things I was looking at with this movie when I first saw it. It's just like, can these two act overall? And at least in this movie, they were both fine. They weren't anything spectacular or special. For Lautner, considering what he would later on do down the road, I mean, this is like probably his best work overall. But Taylor Swift, she's kind of the ditzy girlfriend. She's fine, I guess. I mean, like, she was also on SNL and CSI at the same time, when CSI was still on the air. But other than that, though, yeah, not really much there in general, but with them. But some of the bad things about the film, George Lopez is also in here too. Here's the thing about this movie. They have so many people in this movie, they're still introducing characters halfway through the movie. And it's just like, that's one of the big things right there. It's just like, you've got all these names in here, okay, that's fine, but it's just like, at some point you have to cut off introducing new people with these big names in here, because sooner or later, the movie's going to come to an end soon. You're going to have all these stories that are not going to have any conclusions whatsoever. And George Lopez in here, his character's kind of useless. He's just there to be basically the comic relief. And my major complaint of the movie is that two stories in this basically don't have a happy ending. You have Patrick Dempsey's character, he's a married man who has an affair with Jennifer Garner, and Garner gets her revenge, and Dempsey is left with no one on Valentine's Day. And, I mean, that's something where I can understand that he shouldn't deserve a happy ending for it, but you've got Jessica Alba's character, and this was kind of the year when Jessica Alba really... I almost lost the review there because I hit the wrong button there, but Jessica Alba's character, this is kind of the year where her career just took a gigantic nosedive. I mean, this pales in comparison to the horrors of Little Fockers coming up at the end of the year, but her character is really misused, and she's getting punished for no reason at all. Like, the movie basically says, like, if you're not going to commit to your boyfriend, Ashton Kutcher, who wants to marry you, then you don't deserve a happy ending. And it's just like, bullshit. I'm sorry that you want to have this happy ending Gora thing for everyone, but I'm sorry. That's a bad message to send out to women out there. It's just like, commit or else you're never getting married and your life's going to be completely miserable. I'm so sick and tired of movies and shows where they force people to get married and have kids. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of these bad romantic comedies we've covered here. I mean, it's that bad. I mean, it's just something that, I mean, like, let people live their goddamn lives. I mean, let people live. Seriously. It's just like, you don't need to settle down right away. Like, when the moment comes, you'll know when you're ready to fall in love and ready to commit to a relationship or a marriage and all that. Like, I mean, that's just my personal thinking on it, per se. But then again, this is somebody who's never really been in a real relationship with somebody, unfortunately. But beside the point, it's just like, this movie overall is just fine, I guess. I mean, it's nothing that bad overall. I've seen much worse. I mean, Legion, Leap Year, One in Rome, those movies are much, much worse ways to start the year off. There are things about this that are just fine. Like, the performances overall are good. Fox, I think, is the best one overall, but the laughs are not really there in general. It's just kind of a mediocre film in general that just really felt like it existed because they got all these names in here, and that's what people were sold on alone. They didn't care about whether or not it was going to be funny or not. Hey, all these big actors are in here. There you go. Supposedly we got a movie there, and yeah, enjoy it while you can, because the next one after this is really, really where the shit literally hits the fan. So, So that's Valentine's Day. So let's go ahead and go to another movie. You know, forget Valentine's Day. You know what couples really want to go see on Valentine's Day? A horror movie with the Wolfman.
There are those who doubt the power to change men into beasts.
Do you believe in curses? On February 12th, the legend lives. The Wolfman. You've done terrible things. Rated R.
So yeah, this is a very interesting movie overall. This is a film that, back when it came out, it really wasn't the big hit overall. It wasn't a big. It wasn't a. I mean, it was a failure. It didn't make it back its $150 million budget. It was mostly a mixed review movie, but the makeup overall was generally praised for it. But one of the things that needs to be noted about this movie, a while back when we talked about 1 Hour Photo, I said that Mark Romanek was the director on this movie. He was supposed to be the director, but because the writer's strike was going on, there was a thing where he wanted to basically rewrite the script overall, and Universal wouldn't allow him to do that because they were on strike. They were WGA signatories, so they basically meant that, you know, they couldn't hire anybody to rewrite the script overall, and thus, along with that, and some creative differences and budgetary issues, like they want to use practical effects in here, but no, we're not. But Universal's not going to let them do that because why would they? I'll get to that in just a second. But so Mark Romanek basically left the project, unfortunately, and then they brought in Joe Johnston to direct the movie. Joe Johnston's not a bad director. He did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He did Jumanji. He did. He's going to do Captain America: the First Avenger coming up the year after this. So yeah, he's not a bad director to replace him. And trust me, it would have been a lot worse because they would have gotten Brett Ratner to direct the movie, and Brett Ratner probably would have ruined this movie big time. But yeah, there was a lot of problems behind the scenes with the film in general. But the film itself is just, it's complicated, but it's interesting because my mood on it definitely has changed, especially with what we had earlier this year. But in this movie, it follows an actor played by Benicio del Toro who, after his brother's brutal murder, returns from the U.S. to his ancestral home in England, where he gets bitten by a werewolf and is cursed to become one. You'll have Anthony Hopkins playing his father, Emily Blunt is playing the love interest, and Hugo Weaving is playing the, the inspector who really is who's trying to figure out the mysteries behind all the murders and all that. And at the time when the movie came out, I think, like most people, I was just kind of like, this isn't bad, but you felt like there could have been so much more to it. I think after what we just had with the Wolfman reboot earlier in the year, which was an abysmal mess of a film, I couldn't believe that, you know, Blumhouse should have been the company that would have fixed that, but knowing the fact that they basically didn't even do a Wolfman movie. Like, that Wolfman in that movie was not the Wolfman. And, again, they had a small budget to work with, but at the same time, you can't go out and do whatever you try to do with that movie in general. But because of that movie, I've somehow slowly but surely started to come around to this movie in particular, where I would say that it's fine. I definitely feel a lot better about it after watching the Wolfman reboot from earlier in the year, but this is still not a great movie overall. The casting overall isn't bad. Benicio del Toro, I think, does a very good job as Lawrence Talbot. I think he does a very good job in that role. Hugo Weaving's very good as the inspector in here. Emily Blunt's okay, too, as the love interest. Anthony Hopkins is fine, but he's definitely part of the problems with the film. But the look of the movie overall looks pretty good, that gothic feel to it. I mean, it's a very good job of handling that, but my biggest problem with the movie, and I think a lot of people's biggest problem with the movie, was that the CG transformations. I mean, look, I get it, Universal. You know that you did American Werewolf in London, and you're never going to top that. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to be able to top that because it's practical effects. Practical effects are something that still hold up after all these years later, especially with 80s horror movies. I mean, I've been noticing that now. The more 80s horror films I've been watching, the practical effects of those movies still hold up after all these years. And they did that with smaller budgets. But the problem is, Universal wants to try to do that same thing with CG. It's just like, just imagine what we can do with CG overall. the transformations in here look absolutely abysmal. Like, in CG, they look terrible. And the problem is, they were going to do practical effects. They brought Rick Baker in, who did those effects in American Werewolf in London, to do this movie. And they were ready to go on the practical effects, but then Universal said, no, 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 no. We've got computers now. We can make, that's what we're going to use for this. So, hey, Rick, stick around, buddy, because we might need you for the makeup work, which... Sure enough, he actually won the Oscar for Best Makeup on this, so yeah, at least some good came out of it. The makeup overall is good, and when you see the Wolfman himself, it looks pretty badass. That looks like what the Wolfman should look like. It's just the CG transformations, they were really ugly to look at back then. I thought they'd get better over time, but, I mean, they are a little bit better, but they're still not great either. And the other big problem I have with the movie is that the story overall, like, if of all the things you're going to copy, are you really going to try to copy the 2003 Hulk movie storyline? Because we basically find out that Anthony Hopkins is kind of the bad guy in here because he's the original Wolfman, and it's just like it was it's so reminiscent of something like the Hulk, where Nick Nolte was basically the antagonist of the whole time in that movie, and it's basically running in that same storyline. It's just kind of like, are you really going down that pathway? That's the direction you decided to take with this movie? At least with the reboot they did earlier in the year, I thought that was a clever idea of having it be like a slow burn thriller with his family and the father's turning into the Wolfman. It's just the execution overall and the lack of a really good looking Wolfman ruined that film in general. But there was a good idea there. With this, it starts off with a very good idea, but then by the third act, it's just kind of like it falls into ripping off the 2003 Hulk movie. Of all the movies you're going to rip off, why are you going to rip off that one in general? But so overall, my thoughts on this is that it's still not a great movie, but I will give it more credit. It's a lot better than what we got this past January with the 2025 remake, but it's still not a great movie overall. I'll give it credit where credit is due. It does look nice. When the Wolfman shows up, it looks pretty cool. The makeup work is nicely done. The casting overall is pretty good, but other than that, though, it really is not a great movie overall. It still is a very flawed film. I guess I have a little bit more of a soft spot for it because of what I had to sit through with the 2025 remake, but other than that, though, I never really have any real intentions of watching this again, per se, so take that for what you will. But with all that said, though, let's go ahead and get to our last movie that we have here, and that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Man, that live-action Hercules movie about to be lit, y'all. I mean, that literally looks like a scene that they would probably use for the live-action Hercules movie at Disney, which you know they're going to end up doing at some point. I think they're still working on it, even though they temporarily said they're going to shut down on the live-action remakes. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch basically says, the fuck you ain't. I mean, it'd be nice if they would stop, but anyway, this is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. It's, of course, based off the books by Rick Riordan, and coincidentally, those books are actually published by Disney, so 7 years before Disney eventually bought Fox, they were already working with Fox on different projects, but But in this movie, you have a young boy named Percy Jackson, played by Logan Lerman, who finds out he's the son of Poseidon after Zeus thinks that Percy stole his master lightning bolt. After getting attacked by a Fury, his protector Grover, played by Brandon T. Jackson from Tropic Thunder, needless to say in a much better movie than Tooth Fairy, tells him and his mother, played by Catherine Kino, to move and take Percy to a camp where he can learn how to use his powers. When his mother gets taken to the depths of hell, Percy, Grover, and Annabeth, played by Alexandra Daddario, in a film that most everybody saw her for the first time, little did we know that she'd become the hottie with the big knockers. I mean, that's literally what she was known for a long period of time. I mean, True Detective, San Andreas, anybody, but, I mean, that's not me saying it. That's everybody that was saying that back then, but they must go on a journey across America to grab 3 pearls in order to get his mother back from Hades. So, it's basically, you ever seen the Danny Phantom TV movie? This the last one they did. It was like what was it? I think I have it in here in my review here. Reality Trip is what it's called, but yeah, it's basically that storyline, except replace Danny, Sam, and it's been a while since I've watched Danny Phantom, but I can't remember who the third kid was. Tucker, Danny, Sam, and Tucker. Replace them with these 3, and you've pretty much got the same movie in general. But this movie makes no sense. But then again, it's because when I saw this for the first time, I never read the books. I never knew what was going on inside of the film in general. And usually, I don't need to worry about looking at the books to really understand what's going on in the movie. Usually, I just let the movie do the work for me. I mean, that's what I was like with the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I didn't feel like I needed to read the books in general. But then again, maybe if I would have enjoyed it more. Which I enjoy those movies overall, but this is definitely one where, yeah, I probably should have read the books overall, because apparently a lot of the stuff they threw in here was stuff from the book in general. So yeah, I didn't like it at first. As time has gone on, I really did come around to saying that it's still not great, but I at least get it now after taking a look at the books in general and basically just summing it up, seeing it on Wikipedia, just like, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense overall. But there were some things about the film that I didn't like overall. For the one thing I didn't like the most was Pierce Brosnan, who, I mean, he really was overacting his ass off in this movie. I mean, you thought this makes Mamma Mia look saner by comparison. I mean, what happened to Pierce Brosnan from GoldenEye or The Matador? Like, I want that Brosnan back in here. Another character I didn't really like overall was Steve Coogan playing Hades, and I'm sorry, I can't buy the director of Tropic Thunder and the happy, pepped-up music teacher in Hamlet 2 as the boss of the underworld. And I'll say this, the special effects overall were not that great the first time I saw it, and I thought maybe watching it again, it's just like, maybe it gets better, and just like, nah. Like, you can't trust anyone because they could be Furies too. Like, every single time they go somewhere, there's always someone waiting right there for them. It's just kind of like, it's just like every time. Like, there's never a point where it just feels like, they could just go somewhere and no problems whatsoever. But no, something has got to happen. Now, at times that can be pretty awesome. There's one scene in particular that I did not like at first. But the more I thought about it, when they went to Las Vegas and they go to this place called the Lotus Flowers, and they're playing Lady Gaga's Poker Face in the background. It's just like there's a whole thing where they're just in there and they don't realize that they're stuck inside of like a fantasy world and that type of stuff. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I watched it at first and I didn't like it, but as time has gone on, I definitely came around to it because I thought that's actually much cleverer than I thought it was. That's actually something where it actually does play much better than I could have expected it to. But like, there's just parts of the movie where it's so confusing that it really is one of those movies that you really have to read the books to understand more about it. And once I did that, I just felt like it was like, okay, this is something where it is something like I can give a little bit more of an appreciation towards. Not to say that the movie is great overall, but there are good things I like about it. I thought the 3 heroes were pretty good. Logan Lerman, pretty good actor overall. He was actually somebody who they were looking at to do the Amazing Spider-Man, and I thought he could have pulled it off had Andrew Garfield not gotten it. But Brandon T. Jackson, like I said, this is a nice return to form for him before he eventually his career completely fell off the face of the earth when he did Big Mama's Like Father Like Son the next year. And once again, Alexandra Daddario, man, I mean, back then she was hot, but it was the eyes that really did it for her. Those eyes were just like that's a woman where if you back then the eyes really do it for you, but then when her career gets going, we're not looking at her eyes anymore, we're looking at her bazooms pretty much. But I've said my piece on that one. But Catherine Kino was also pretty good, too. I thought she was actually pretty good in here playing the mom. She was definitely a lot better here than in Where the Wild Things Are. And Rosario Dawson, she's only in here for a little bit, but I thought she was really good overall. I did like the last battle between Percy and the bad guy in here, which has the best special effects of the entire movie. The third act overall is where the film really does get going overall. Like, the third act is where the film really does take off, and it really leads to a lot of great stuff overall. Like, if the first two acts had been like that third act, I probably would have loved this movie. But as it is, I mean, and like I said, going back to what I said about the Danny Phantom special, this literally feels like Chris Columbus saw Danny Phantom's reality trip episode and said, that should be the basis for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And not Chris Columbus, but mostly the writers of this. I feel like they saw that and just like, because it's literally the same thing. They got to go on the road trip across the country, grabbing pearls to stop an evil villain from taking over the world and finding off random villains to get it. And that was a cartoon, and that was more believable than this was. But overall, I didn't like it when I first came out of it, but as time has gone on, I've sort of kind of understood more of the Percy Jackson universe in general. I will say that it's fine. I guess the best way to describe it is just it's an okay movie, but you really need to survive the first two acts before you get to the good stuff in the third part. But the third act overall really is the best part of it. Had the first two acts been a whole lot better, I probably would have enjoyed this, but as it is, it's just fine. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but definitely a lot better than I made it out to be the first time around. I have come around to giving it a little bit more of an appreciation towards it. Plus, it certainly kicks the crap out of Sea of Monsters. That's the one where they really dropped the ball on the badness of that one. But this one's okay, I guess. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. I guess if you're a true fan of the book overall, you'll enjoy it more than I did. But me personally, that's pretty much all I got to say for you on that one. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, Martin Scorsese reunites with Leonardo DiCaprio for the thriller Shutter Island. And Roman Polanski is back on the big screen in The Ghost Rider, his directorial effort starring Ewan McGregor. And we'll take a look at both of those movies coming up tomorrow on the show, so definitely be on the lookout for that. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this and want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. Hopefully this time I got the order right. But also check out our playlist, check out our previous episode too. And with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. So the next time I see you, take care.